We have seen over and over that God will provide as well as guide our homeschool journey. Discouragement can be a real part of the battle we fight as we homeschool our children. Am I doing enough? Should I be doing something different? How much am I missing? We shouldn't be surprised when these waves crash. Our enemy isn't going to lie down and not fight us on this issue. We know that the main battleground in our culture is our family. So of course the accuser, our enemy, is going to throw our failures, real or otherwise, up in our faces. As we take time to be still when the wave of discouragement comes and choose to seek the counsel of the Supreme Teacher and Encourager, we will be able to hear the message He sends our way, sometimes in a moment, sometimes over a few days, for we know He will be faithful. Training for a high calling. Training a guide dog to be quiet when it is a dog's nature to bark requires much training and discipline. Training a guide dog to sit quietly by his master also requires much discipline. They don't always get to do the fun things that dogs and masters normally do, because that would not be training that dog towards the goal of service. A service dog has a different purpose than the household pet. The analogy to raising our children is striking. We too are setting aside our children for a special purpose, to love and serve God. It will take discipline and a large measure of God's grace. If we are to do our part in preparing our children to be of service, many times we make decisions for our families that seem hard or restrictive. Maybe their friends can do things our children cannot do, such as reading certain books or spending a night with a friend. These things aren't wrong in and of themselves, but they aren't right for our families at this time. As homeschoolers, we sometimes get criticism for not allowing our children to do these things or that like other children do. And we may begin to think they're missing out. But we have to remember that we have a responsibility to train them in a high calling, that of loving and serving the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. I know Darla and I have talked many times in the course of raising our children and reflecting on our growing up as when we were young, the things we did in church and the things that we look back on and we thought was really fun, and our girls aren't doing it. And we wonder and we ask ourselves, are they missing out? Are they growing up without getting to experience the things we did? And one or the other of us will always bring us back to the course that we set for our family. And we realize that it's different for us and our kids, and that we're going in a direction, and we have to stay strong on what we're doing. The play that our kids are involved in, I have one daughter that is a social butterfly. She just can't have enough friends. We are very protective of her and how many people she can be around. And so the play was something she wanted to be involved in. She works at the library, my kids do, as this librarian who does plays. So naturally, Darla is part of that too, because it's not a Christian play. They do fun things with children, but kids from all walks of life in the neighborhood, in the town, can be part of this play. So Darla is there tonight doing makeup on 70 children and monitoring and making sure that this is a good environment, a safe place that our girls can experience something different, can be involved in the drama and plays, but at the same time, we know that they're not being influenced or taken down a path or tempted to go somewhere that they might regret later. And that's part of what we're talking about here. Look up. Many of you have taught your children to drive, or maybe you can remember when you were learning to drive. The novice driver often weaves back and forth from side to side in the lane, their hands constantly moving, and the car is jerking to and from, trying to miss every little bump in the road. New drivers tend to do this. How do we help them overcome that? We have to teach our children to look up, to focus on the horizon. When they do look up, their driving begins to smooth out. They can still avoid all near dangers, but they aren't concentrating on every little bump in the road. Novice homeschool educators, and many of us old-timers, are much like the new drivers. Our eyes are distracted by nearby happenings. What is Susie using for math? And how is Johnny doing on his instrument? And what is the public school teaching? Any number of things can distract us from our homeschool as we compare ourselves to others. What's the solution? Look up to God for guidance in your homeschool. Focus on the horizon, the long term, the eternal. Matthew 6:33 says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you." If we keep our eyes on Jesus, we will know which course we are to run, and we will keep the eternal in mind when we homeschool. If we are not sure what we ought to do, we just need to ask God. James chapter 1, verse 5 and 6, "But if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives to all men generously without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith without any doubting. For the one who doubts is like the surf of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind." So if you are finding yourself being tossed here and there on your homeschool journey, if you find yourself wandering all over the road, look up. A bountiful harvest. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man sows, that shall he also reap. For he that sows to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that sows to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. Galatians chapter 6, verses 7 through 8. This may be one of the most important verses for home educators today. No matter what method we use or what motivates us to educate our children, we cannot deny God's sovereignty. God will not be mocked. When you sow seeds of righteousness in your children, you will reap the blessings of godliness in your children and in your children's children. If we sow seeds of the world or even allow them to grow unchecked, that is what we shall reap. It is a promise from God. I don't see righteousness in my children, you may say. Be patient. Be faithful. You may be expecting immediate results. You may want results without waiting for God's timing. God doesn't give instant gratification, yet His promises are the same, yesterday, today, and forever. Hebrews 13:8. As you take the role of a parent who is faithful to God's plan, you must keep your eyes on the things that are above, not on the things here below. Colossians 3:2. Remember, some crops take longer than one season to come to maturity. You can trust Him to reap what you sow. Back home, Darla works as much as she can outside. She loves to garden, and we planted some flowers in the garden this actually 2 years ago. It was called the foxglove. And we didn't know it when we planted them. It takes 2 years for that flower to bloom. The first year it just keeps growing new leaves and they keep mounding and the plant gets bigger, it gets plenty of water, it gets to a really big, beautiful plant. And then the second year this long stem comes up out of the plant and these bell-shaped flowers come from it. And they're anywhere from an ivory white to a pink to a real pretty fuchsia or lavender color. And it takes 2 years. Well, this year they bloom, they reseeded already, and I see little foxgloves this big already starting, and 2 years from now we'll repeat that process. And I didn't realize that until just this last year.